All right, hi everyone. Welcome to today's training webinar. My name is Jamie Brun, and I'm part of the support team here at SuiteFiles. So today's training webinar is going to be specifically covering the scanning and templates functionality within SuiteFiles. Now, the scanning is a pretty quick part of the webinar. Really, the main content is around using file templates and how you can create those, how you can use them, how you can manage them. A big kind of chunk that we sometimes go through in this webinar for templates is how to set them up with XPM integration. Now, if anyone in the webinar is not using XPM integration or is not planning on using that functionality with file templates, please let me know early on in the webinar, as that way I'll leave it till right at the end or leave it to our XPM integration webinar tomorrow. But otherwise, I'll assume that everyone's using the XPM integration, and I'll go through the templates in a way that kind of is specifically for that functionality. Cool. Also, I am recording this webinar. The recording will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, which is simply called SuiteFiles. All right, so first of all, we're going to go through the scanning functionality, have a look at how that kind of works and how you can make use of it. So right now I'm in the SuiteFiles web app, located in my SuiteFiles site in the browser. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and first of all create a folder. And then we're going to create an email address for that folder. And that will then allow us to send any files to that email address, whether that's by putting that email address in your scanner and scanning some documents to that email address, or if it's simply attaching some files in an email and sending an email to that email address we create, those files will actually upload into that folder in SuiteFiles. So to have a look at how this works, we actually have some scanning folders here already, and these will already have email addresses. So I'm actually going to create a scanning folder, which we have a bunch of here. Let's create it under our business folder. I'm actually just going to call this new folder scanning, whoops, if I can spell, scanning for August 28, just so I can make sure it's different from these other ones. I'm just going to create an empty folder here. Most people would probably just create a scanning folder at the very top level of their site, but we already had one there, so I'm just going to use this to demonstrate the process of creating the email address. Basically, once you have a folder like this and you want to use that folder to scan documents into, you would go to the three dots at the right-hand side of that folder's path, like so. Click on these three dots to bring up the folder options, and then we'd click the Create Email Address button here, which would generate a unique email address for this particular folder, which we can see here. And what we can now do, we can click this little blue icon, which will copy that email address to our clipboard on the computer. And we could take that email address. What we could do is we could write up an email and attach some files. So we've got an email here. I'm going to just paste in that unique email address. I'm just going to say the subject is uploading some files, uploading. And I'm going to attach some files from SuiteFiles actually, because there's a good example files. Maybe they'll be in my recents. Yep, so let's just attach some files. Just going to attach some random files, to be honest. Cool, like so. So I've actually got 4 attached documents here and an email that's going to go to this unique email address, which is associated with this specific folder in my SuiteFiles site. If we go to 3 dots, we'll still be able to see that email address there. Cool. Now I'm going to send off this email, and we're going to have a look at what happens next. So that will take a few seconds. It won't necessarily upload those files immediately, but it's pretty quick. Now, because you generate that unique email address for a specific folder, that does mean that you could create an email address for all of your client folders, for example. You could go through and create an email address for every one of these, like so. But that's not very practical because you don't want to be entering 100 or thousands of different email addresses and keeping track of those, and all the effort of just clicking the create button for that many would really just not make any sense. So what we really recommend and what we see as the most common use of these kind of email addresses for folders is just having either a scanning or a scans folder at the home level of your SuiteFiles site. What we also do see is that some people, if we go back, some people will actually set up staff folders for scanning. So for example, they'd create under a scanning folder, they'd create a folder for each staff member. So they might create one for Jamie, they might create one for Andrew as well, like so. And that way, each staff can have their own email address for scanning and use that to manage their own files that they've scanned. So that's another way you could set that up. Let's go back into our business folder, and this was the scanning folder we created, scanning for August 28. If I open this up, you can now see that those 4 documents that I sent through that email have actually been uploaded into this folder. So hopefully that kind of gives you a good idea on what actually happens when you send documents to that email address. They're automatically uploaded into that folder. Now, I did attach files, but when you're scanning, you might get some files with completely random names. So for example, if instead of being called job report, this looked something like, let's just go like this. Maybe not the best example, but just a very random name. Might not be able to make sense of it. While you could, within this folder that we've actually already uploaded these files into, we could go ahead and do the whole 3 dots and rename the file. Click save. We could do select some files, click the move button, and go and move them around in our site. Like if we wanted to put them into a clients folder, we could do it like this, for example. However, it's not really the most efficient way to do this, especially if you're uploading a lot of documents from a scanner or by email in this method. So what we do have in SuiteFiles is we have a Scans tab. And if we click on the Scans tab, what we're going to see is we're going to see pretty much it's like a queue of all of the files that we've uploaded by sending them to an email address that's been generated for a folder. And so we can see those 4 files that we just uploaded. These are all grouped by the date as well. So we can see these were all uploaded today. If you click on that date, it will actually minimize that group of documents uploaded on that date. So we could minimize them and just see everything below, like so. And we can click on them to expand them again and view those documents that were uploaded on that date. Now, what this allows you to do is actually change the location of the file and change the name of the file in a way that's a lot quicker, easier, and more efficient than doing it directly through the folder itself. So for example, we can see that these are all currently being stored under the business/scanning for org 28 folder. And let's say we want to move these files into some client folders. What we can actually do is we can click on any part of this folder path. And for example, if I click on home, it's going to take me straight back to the home folder in this path. And I could then click on the choose a subfolder dropdown and select a folder here. So I could click the clients folder to select that. And then I could click on the next dropdown for choose a subfolder. Oops, like so. And then I could go ahead and select a client folder. So for example, I could select my 99 Corporation folder, and I could choose another subfolder again. I'm going to select the 2019 subfolder. This file name is already taken. Okay. So I can see that there's actually already a file in this folder location with this name. So what I might want to do is rename this. I'm actually going to rename this to be for the financial year 2019. And this is the new file name I'd like to have. This is where I'd like the new location of this file to be. All I do now is I click on the File It button, and this will both move the file and rename the file at the same time. And the other thing that that File It button does that's quite important is it actually removes it from the scan section. So if I actually just refresh the page here, you can see that that file is gone, and we've only got 3 of those files listed here now. Now, if we go ahead, go into that folder that we actually scanned those files to, scanning for August 28, we can see that one file has gone. Now, watch what happens if I rename a file from directly within the folder and then move it from here as well. Let's rename this. Let's call this 99 Corporation August report. Save, and then let's go ahead and move this into our client folder. So let's put it in here, let's move it. Okay, that file is now being stored here. It was this file here that I just moved. And if I go back to that folder, you can see it's no longer stored here. However, if I go to my scan section, you can see right here that file is still listed in the scan section. The reason for that is because the only way to remove it from the scan section is actually by going into the scan section and clicking that file up button. So this is a new folder path and a new file name. However, it hasn't been filed from the scans queue, so it remains here. And now if I click file it, it's going to say that that name has already been taken because I've already renamed it and moved it before. So what we want to do now, we'd have to either rename it from within the folder, or would need to change up the path again. So I could go like this, file it, and that will remove it from the queue. And then I'd have to move that file once more from within the folder to put it back in that 2019 subfolder. So really the best way to manage your scanned documents is to go into the scan section and use that file up button. The other thing is that if you have generated a bunch of different email addresses for some folders, if you click this View All Scanning Email Addresses button, you'll get a list of all of the folders that you currently have a unique email address for, and you'll also be able to see that unique email address for that particular folder displayed just underneath. So you can see, for example, the client's email is this one here. Our business folder's email address is this one here. We can see that the Demo Now LT's email address is this one down below here, and so on. So you can see all of that and just kind of keep track of those email addresses through that button. Cool. Now that's really it for the scanning kind of part of this webinar. If anyone has any questions about anything that we've covered there, please feel free to let me know at any time by simply putting those questions through the Q&A section webinar tool. Otherwise, we'll move on to having a look at templates. The main kind of thing we're going to go through in templates is really creating the file template, and then everything else is reasonably small in comparison. And once we've kind of gone through the creating a file template, it's pretty much the same concept for an email template. So the email template section of the webinar will be pretty short. Okay, I'm just going to move on then. If anyone does have any questions while I'm going through the file template stuff, if it's about scanning, please feel free to still send them through. I might leave them till the end of the webinar, but I'll certainly be keeping an eye out for them in case they're kind of relevant to what we're talking about. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to create a file template. Now, we actually have some kind of demonstration ones in our site. And just so you're aware, this files to template folder is simply a folder that has this name. There's no special functionality in it, just so you're aware of that. Now, we've got a file here called Year-End Letter 2017. I'm going to actually open that up, open that into Word. Once that's opened up, I'll just move that over to the other screen. And this is basically just a kind of example file that we've set up that we're going to want to save as a template. So let's open that up here. Now, this is pretty much a normal file in terms of the content, although obviously this isn't very readable, but this is just kind of like a normal file. This might be a file that we're planning on sending out to clients on a regular basis. Really, your file templates should be kind of files that you're sending out regularly that for the main part remain pretty unchanged. Obviously, if you're creating very specific files for each user or for each client, sorry, you might not have as much of a use for the templates. But if you're creating files that are fairly generic and the only details that are going to change are the client details, then file templates are really, really useful for this. So the thing that's going to look different in this file here are these merge fields. And these merge fields are the things in these square brackets that just look very different. And what these merge fields do is they actually pull through information for the particular field for a client in XPM. So for example, if we had this file saved as a template and we were creating a file from a template and we selected a client called 99 Corporation, for example, then this client business name merge field in this document would populate with the business name field in XPM for that 99 Corporation client. Same as these address fields, it would pull through the relevant address details from that particular client in our XPM account. The date merge field is a very generic field that doesn't require any kind of information or anything from XPM. But things like the primary contact salutation, that's a specific field for a primary contact for that particular client in your XPM account. And these merge fields are what will populate with that client information. Now, to actually have a look at what merge fields are available to use, we have a list on our Help Center. So I'm just going to open up our Help Center. Should probably the easiest way. If you go on our SuiteFiles site, if you go into your SuiteFiles site, and you click on your username at the top right, open up the little menu here, and you click the Help Center button. What this will do, it will take you to our Help Center. If you go into the Zero Integration section here, or if you just scroll down to the page to the Zero Integration section, you either want to go to the Zero Practice Manager category, or under the most popular articles like we're currently seeing, the most popular article, of course, will be this Zero Practice Manager fields for templates. Also just type in XPM fields or templates in the search bar and you'll find this article. But this article here has a list of the merge fields to use in our file templates. So you can see, the column on the right doesn't really give you any kind of new information apart from some of the things like for the address field, but pretty much these ones on the left, you could just copy like so and paste. So if I actually remove that field, paste that field in, like so, you can copy and paste those fields, and that's how you can basically insert those merge fields into your file. Now, once you've created your file and you're ready to save it as a template, you'd simply save that file, and then you'd go back to your SuiteFiles site, like so. And for that particular file that you want to save as a template, you need to go to the very right-hand side of that file, click on the three dots to bring up the file options, click on the Save as Template button, and then you need to provide the name for your new file template. By default, what it will enter in this text field is the name that file currently has. So that file is called Year-End Letter 2017. So by default, it's going to have the template file name as Year-End Letter 2017 as well. If you want to change that, you can simply overwrite this like so. And what you can do is there's also these template categories in SuiteFiles. These are kind of like folders for your file templates. However, they only have one level, and we can select a category that we want to actually save this file template under. This is just to help us kind of organize those file templates. We've actually got a year-end letters category, so I'm going to select that and click the Save Template button, and that's now going to take a copy of this file and save it in the templates part of our site. So I'll just reiterate the fact that it's saving a copy of the file. It doesn't have a live link to the original file. So if we update this original file, it won't change that update that we already, it won't update that template we already saved. If we want to edit the template, we have to specifically do that through the template section of SuiteFiles. But now that I've saved that, let's have a look at how we can create a new file using that template. If we go into a client folder, 99 Corporation is always a good one. Let's just actually delete these files really quickly. Cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new file using that template that we just saved. So to do this, we want to go and click on the Create button at the right-hand side of our screen. We want to select the File from Template option. Click on this. And what we want to do here is we want to look in here and find the file template we'd like to use. Now, by default, when this window pops up, it will show you all of the file templates that are available in your site. Now, depending on how many file templates you have, you might be scrolling for a while and you might find that this default layout is not the most efficient way of finding your file templates. That's why we have a search bar at the top right here where you can actually type in keywords. Oops, if I can type. But you can type in kind of keywords to do with your file template and narrow down the amount of file templates that are being displayed. The other thing you can do is you can click on the template categories on the left-hand side of this window to view only the file templates that have been assigned to those categories. So conditional formatting, for example, has specifically been saved or assigned to the tax letters template. For year-end letters, these two files have specifically been added and assigned to this category. This year-end letter 2019 file template was the template that I actually just saved. So I'm going to click on that to select it. Now, this left-hand text field here is going to be the name for the new file. By default, it will take the name of the template and add in for with the client name. If you don't have a client selected, like so, it will just have the name of the template. You can't actually kind of edit that text directly, but if you want to provide a different file name, you simply add in or enter your own text here, like so. Now, if we just clear that, if you have a client folder that's directly under the clients folder and that client folder name actually directly matches to the client name in XPM, then it should actually populate the choose a client field here automatically with the client, which it actually did for this one. And it will look like this because that client folder name is called 99 Corporation, and XPM, that client's called 99 Corporation as well. However, if you don't have it automatically match up, that's totally fine. What you do is you click on this text field where it says choose a client, you enter in the name of that client from your XPM account that you'd like to use to populate the file. Select that client by clicking on it, and we can see that it's been selected, and then we can just click the little red icon here if we'd like to delete / remove that client from being selected. Now there's actually a new feature that's just been added into the templates, and this is this enter field values button here. What we can actually use this for is if we'd like to manually provide information to populate those merge fields. So if we actually click on this button, what it's going to do is it's going to actually show us, it's actually first of all going to show us what's going to populate into these merge fields. So we can see, for example, that the client business name merge field is going to fill in with 99 Corporation. That's because we selected that client. That's what the file is going to populate with, that 99 Corporation client. It's showing us what's going to fill in with those merge fields we have in our file template, and it actually gives us an option to override or manually enter our own information for these merge fields. So for example, let's say the client IRD merge field here either doesn't exist in Xero or we don't have information for it for this particular client. What we can do is we can actually manually enter in our own information here like so. And when we click the Create button, it's going to use that for populating that file from that template, which is really, really cool. And so if you don't want to use too many of those merge fields that are specific to the XPM integration, you can just put in your own merge fields there and basically decide on what you want the information to be for those particular merge fields. Interesting that the dates merge field hasn't filled in here. I think there might be a slight issue with the date merge fields for the custom kind of population, but we can see that the business name merge field filled in, the address fields have filled in, the primary contact salutation merge field has filled in. We had a GST field kind of randomly slotted in here, and that's that custom kind of information I provided for that merge field, which was just 1 to 9. Then I think partner kind of merge field or account manager, something like that, merge field here. And so we can see that those merge fields for the most part there have all populated with information for that particular client that we selected from our XPM account. So that's kind of how the population of those file templates work. If you don't want to use that XPM integration side of things or populating of client data, then you can simply just save a normal file as a template, and when you go to create a new file using that template, it's just going to create an exact copy of that file for you. So it's going to pretty much do the same thing as a Control-C and Control-V, or in other words, a copy and paste of the file, but it just provides a bit more kind of manageability, if that's a word around it. Just kind of makes it easy to manage, really. So that's really file templates. The next thing to kind of go through is around the managing template side of things, how you can do things like create template categories, and then after that we'll be going through the email templates. But if anyone has any questions about the creation and use of those file templates, please feel free to let me know through the Q&A section. That really is kind of the bulk of this webinar, that creation of the file templates, because I think it's kind of the most important thing to kind of learn, use those templates and create them in a way that it really works for you. So please do feel free to fire through any questions you have about that. We're just going to take a minute to see if any questions come through. Then we'll move on to having a look at the template management and template categories side of things. Okay, cool. Looks like any question, no, sorry, let me restart that. Looks like no questions have come through, but feel free to ask any questions as I go along. As mentioned, I will keep an eye out for them in case any come through. Cool, so we'll have a look at the kind of managing template side of things, and let me actually just check. Yeah, cool, I do have permission to it. So to actually access the template manager in SuiteFiles, you will either need to be a SuiteFiles administrator or be assigned a specific permission to manage templates by one of your SuiteFiles admins. And providing you have access to it, you access it through the More tab in your SuiteFiles site. When you click on the More tab, you'll see an option here for Manage Templates. If you can't see it here, you don't have permissions for it, and you'll need to ask one of your SuiteFiles administrators to assign you permission to access that area. But when we go in here, what we're going to see is a list of all of the templates that we currently have in our SuiteFiles site. We have a few filters that we can use. So we can look at the types of templates. We can just see file templates or just email templates or just folder templates like so. We've also got our template categories listed here. And if we click on these, we'll see which file templates are actually currently located in those categories, as well as we can filter things based on their file extensions. Now, if you want to create or add any template categories, the way you do this is you click on the plus icon next to where it says categories. You provide the name of your template category here. I'm just going to call this admin. And we can see our new template category is available here. We can see that we currently have no file templates underneath it. So what we could do is we could go to our uncategorized file templates. Uncategorized is just going to be any file templates that aren't already assigned to any of these categories. And let's say this groups file template test. File template is some kind of administration template, and we want to save it under that category. The way we'd do this is we'd go to the far right hand side here, we'd click on the three dots, we would hover over the add to category option. You don't actually need to click it, just hovering over it will bring up the categories, and then you go ahead and choose the category and click on it, and that will add that file template to that category. So if I now select my administration templates category, I can see that that file template is now located and has been assigned to that category. Cool. Now, if we want to actually edit a file template, let's find under UN letters this one. You can open up the file template, and when you open it, it should say it's located under all templates in your site. Now, if we actually go ahead and edit this in the browser, like so, while we can edit the file template here, the other thing we can actually do, which is really useful, is we can go to the top right of our screen here, just under where our username should be. There's this little panel icon. If we click on this, we'll be able to see the fields that are available. The other thing is there's a section here for client information, and we can actually select a client from this drop-down list. Actually, it's not the one, sorry, 99 Corporation. And what this will do is this will display all of the merge fields you can use and what information would actually fill in for that particular merge field from XPM. So it's kind of simulating those merge fields and what they would populate with. This just gives you a really good idea of what kind of merge fields would be useful. Because obviously, if you've got something like primary contact mobile, when you have a look at a few of your clients and nothing ever seems to fill in there, then that's probably not going to be a merge field you want to include in your templates. Whereas things like primary contact name or client business name and address are going to be really common amongst all your clients in XPM, and so you'll probably want to use those merge fields in your file template. And again, you can just copy the merge field like so, and you can just paste that in wherever you'd like in your template, like so, and then you can just save that template. So that's how you can edit your file templates. Let's just go back to our template section. That actually really covers the management of the template side of things. Yeah, if anyone has any questions about the template manager or the template categories, any kind of thing around the file templates there, please feel free to let me know now. Otherwise, we'll go through the last section of the webinar, which is going to be email templates, and that's just going to be kind of reiterating the file template stuff with a few slight differences in how email templates kind of work. Okay, looks like no questions have come through. So please do feel free to still post through any questions you might have. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Outlook, the email templates. So let me just put that on the screen. Cool. So to use these email templates, you do need to have our SuiteFiles for Outlook add-in installed. That's what provides this functionality. But basically what you do is you go ahead and compose a new email in Outlook. And I'm going to actually just quickly cheat here and fill this in. So what the idea kind of is the same. You have an email that you want to send out, and you want to be able to change client kind of information in that email, but the rest of the content of the email tends to stay the same. So you'd probably want to set up a file template so that you can create new emails with that kind of format really quickly and easily. So basically, same idea. We've got this content. We've got these merge fields, like so. We've actually got a merge field in the subject line, and we actually have an attached file here. That attached document actually has a merge field in its file name. And if we actually open up that attached document, we'll see that this attached file has merge fields in it too, which is quite interesting. Now, the only thing around the email templates in terms of kind of restrictions is you can't fill in any email addresses, and that's just to do with kind of limitations of Outlook. We can fill in the body, we can fill in the subject line and attach files, but we can't fill in actual email address fields, unfortunately. So basically, to save this email as a template, what we would do is we'd actually go to the top left. We've got some SuiteFiles functions here. We'd click the Save as Email Template button. We'd then need to provide the name for this email template. Let's call this Welcome to Suite 2025 for some reason. And then if we'd like to include any attached files we have in this email as part of the template, we need to tick that box there. And then we click the Create Template button, and this will save a copy of this email as a template, and that is now available for our users in our site to use. So a user in a site can use this template when they compose a new email by simply going to the top left, the email, and using this Insert from Template option, selecting the email template they'd like to use. And here they can choose to populate that email template with the client, to populate those merge fields with the client's information. If you select Don't Pre-Populate, it's just going to create an exact copy of that email, which is what I did to just kind of show you what that email looked like before I saved it as a template. But if we want to populate those merge fields with client information, we'd click on the drop-down list here, we'd select a client from our SuiteFiles site. So 99 Corporation, for example, that WFM in brackets is just an abbreviation as to which app it's actually pulling that client from. Now, if I click the pre-populate button here, this is going to pre-populate those merge fields. So we can see it's pre-populated the primary contact salutation field, the business name field in the subject line, some other ones here. This merge field hasn't populated, and that will either be because it's not actually a valid field or there's no information for that field for that particular client. The other thing is that this is actually a custom field, and the way that these custom merge fields work is you can create custom fields for clients in XPM. It's a feature in XPM itself through settings, I believe. And when you create a custom field in XPM, if you'd like to be able to bring the information from that custom field into your templates and SuiteFiles, you simply format the merge field as custom, and then whatever the name of your custom field in XPM is. That's how those work. But if we take a look at this attached file here, we can actually see that in the file name, that merge field was populated with the client's business name, 99 Corporation here. If we open up that attached file, we'll see that those merge fields that were in this attached file have actually populated with client information, which is really cool. So the email template's pretty much the same kind of idea as a file template. The main difference is probably the fact that you can attach files that have merge fields and also have those attached files populate with your client information. So that's how the email templates work in SuiteFiles. If anyone has any questions about any of that, please feel free to let me know now. Best way to do that is just through the Q&A section of the webinar tool. I will just kind of show you one little thing. While you can directly edit file templates in the template manager in SuiteFiles, you can't actually directly edit email templates. They're saved in this special kind of format, which means you can't really just open and edit them. The only way you can really edit a email template in SuiteFiles is by first of all creating a new email with the template you'd like to edit. So for example, if I wanted to edit that welcome template, I'd create a new email, I'd go insert from template, I'd select that email template, I'd go don't pre-populate, so that I get those merge fields as they are, like so. I can make any changes that I'd like to make here. So for example, that client code, because that field doesn't work, I could remove this. I could go ahead and save this as an email template now, and I can call this maybe welcome to Suite, copy. I could tick that box for include attachments. I could click create template, and what I could now do is go back to the template manager. Let me just reload that templates area. And this one here, the copy, is the one that I made the changes to. So what I could do is, for example, I could click on the three dots and click delete for this particular email template, like so. And I could click on the three dots and rename this one to what it was originally, like so, and click rename. And there we go, we've updated an email template. Cool, I can see we do have a question. So the question is, can templates be set up on a user by user basis, i.e. not shared amongst all users? Good question. Unfortunately, you can't set it up on a user by user basis. So once you create a file template or an email template, that's available for all users to use. You can lock down whether people can manage templates or not, and by that I mean whether they can access the template manager or not, but you can't restrict or kind of put permissions on file or email or folder templates. Cool. Thanks for sending that question through. If anyone has any other or further questions to that, please feel free to let me know now. Otherwise, remember we do have our help center, which is simply suitehelp.suitefiles.com, and this has things like a list of the merge fields you can use, also has instructions for how you can actually create and use those file templates, like in the working in SuiteFiles section, I believe. There should be a template section here, creating file templates, and this will show you and give you links to the different merge field lists. It will show you kind of what those merge fields look like, what they would populate with, and kind of the process of turning a file into a template. So yeah, please feel free to check that out. And as mentioned, I will be uploading a recording of this webinar onto our YouTube channel. I tend to do that later in the week and just kind of do all of the training webinars at once. But there's also recordings of previous training webinars on our YouTube channel, which is simply called SuiteFiles. All right, thanks for attending today's training webinar, everyone. And hopefully I'll see you all in tomorrow's XPM integration webinar. All right, enjoy the rest of your afternoons. Thanks, everyone.